Hi, everyone. Welcome to Live with Blayne J, your weekly connection to people, brands, and businesses. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you that asked about last week why we weren't on, I got a little busy and I wasn't able to host any lives, but we are back this week, back to our regular schedule, and we're just going to get right into it. Today's guest is my personal close friend, Rhea Roberts Johnson. She is an executive, a VP of entertainment of ticketing for Golden Voice in California. She is also the creator of Bia's Soap Company. She's a close friend. She's a Hampton alumni. She wears so many hats, and we are not even going to delay this. Let's go ahead and bring Rhea in right now.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. And Kelly is already on here. Kelly says hi. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
So I always like to get into how I know my guests, and I just have to excuse everybody right now because Rhea and I go way back. So we're gonna
Way
be
back.
keying and laughing and all kind of stuff, just like a warning for you now. So Rhea and I met many years ago at Hampton University, and funny story is Rhea and all of our crew lived in a dorm. If you went to Hampton, you know about Twitchell Hall. And they lived in this one dorm, and I was the only one who was annexed to another dorm, which was Virginia Cleveland, for those of you that went there.
But she was always in our dorm.
Always, because everybody that I chill with lived in this dorm to the point that nobody knew that I didn't live there.
It's so funny. I think there were a couple of instances where people for the whole year thought that you lived in Twitchell because you were there so much. And then when they finally found out you didn't live there, they were like, huh?
They're like, how did this happen? It's crazy. It's crazy. We had such a good time, and I have so much Hampton pride for anybody that went to Hampton. I'm always mentioning it every chance I can on the show. If you went to Hampton and you did not enjoy yourself, then that's on you, because that means you didn't get the full benefit of going there. So Rhea and I know each other from Hampton, and we've just had this long-standing friendship that spans East Coast, West Coast. Before we started the live, we were saying we normally see each other once a year, but because of COVID, we haven't been able to. So I'm so happy to see you now.
Totally. Yeah, we have to catch up. It's been, like she said, we've always seen each other for the past X amount of years. I mean, we're only 22, but we've seen each other every year since we graduated. And this is the longest time span since we left Hampton that we haven't had the opportunity to kick it. So looking forward to that.
Yes. We'll see what happens with safety guidelines and if we feel like traveling. But I'm so happy to see you here. And we're going to just jump into it because, like I said, Rhea wears so many hats. She's the VP of ticketing for Golden Voice. And if you don't know Golden Voice, you definitely know Coachella. They are the company that produces Coachella. They produce other concerts. But Rhea has now gotten into soap making. And that's such a specific craft. So I want you to kind of take us down this soap making journey, because it was born out of you going through a personal experience and feeling like you needed to have an outlet. So let us know, however much information you want to share is up to you, but let us know how that all came about.
So last year, right when the world was starting to shut down with COVID and, the stay-at-home orders started getting implemented, literally, I think my last day at work was Friday the 13th. Crazy, right? It was Friday the 13th. That Monday, which was March 16th, I had gone to the doctor with my son, gone to my mom's house to visit her, and all of a sudden, I lost hearing in my left ear. So my mom lives kind of at a higher altitude, so I just kind of figured maybe because I'm higher up, my ear is plugged, maybe it will pop when I go back down the hill, but that never happened. So pretty much I lost hearing in my ear, and it's called sudden hearing loss. It's unexplainable. It usually only affects one ear, but sometimes what comes along with this is this loud ringing sound in your ear, which is called tinnitus. And tinnitus is kind of like the perception of sound that does not exist. And it is the most annoying thing ever. It literally sounded like there's a train in my ear at all times. So, I went to the ENT and they said, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. There's different, there's different things that you could do to soothe the sound in your ears, but it's there and there's really nothing you could do about it. So I came home and I started listening. I don't know if you've ever like gone on YouTube and listened to those soothing sounds where it has like waves in the background or raindrops or something like that. Sometimes people utilize those sounds to like go to sleep. I was kind of using those sounds to cancel out this loud ringing sound in my ear, and it helped a little bit, but not much. But from listening to those sounds, I kind of landed on some soap cutting videos. So they kind of go hand in hand, because if you've ever seen a soap cutting video, and if you haven't, you could like go to my Instagram page at Bia Soap, or you could just go on YouTube and search soap cutting videos. They're extremely soothing. If you ever watch anybody cut soap, it's like one of the most relaxing, soothing things ever. So listening to these relaxing sounds is kind of what led me to the soap cutting videos. And I was like, oh my God, this is so relaxing just watching it. And it was really starting to calm me down. I started exploring soap making from watching those videos, and I just became more and more interested in it. Like, how do you even make soap? Like, people are making soap at home. How the hell do you make soap? Mm-hmm. And I started Googling soap making every time. Like, every time I was on the computer, I ordered a bunch of books about soap making, and then I just started testing it out. So that's kind of how it came into play, is from me losing hearing in my left ear. That's how I started even exploring soap making.
Now I'm going to have to go on YouTube, because I have never seen a soap cutting YouTube video.
Like, sometimes when I post them, people will be like, this is so relaxing. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's extremely relaxing. It's just like, it's like cutting butter or something.
Ooh, I'm going to be up all tonight, just like down a rabbit hole looking at these videos now.
And I see Doc's comment saying, I'm trying to keep people from being stanky. That too.
That's your podcast, homie. So that's actually really interesting, because you could have taken this experience, and I'm sure, like, I know that there were so many emotions that went into it, and instead of just living in these emotions, you were kind of like, let me find an outlet for this. And so you found this outlet, but then it became like you took this hobby and this passion and turned it into a company. So your soaps are like vegan soaps and soy soaps. I don't even know what that means. So how did you go from like watching these videos to being like, I'm going to make these, what sounds like really like healthy and good for your skin kind of soaps, from just watching these videos?
Well, with COVID and the hand washing coming into play and just being escalated, like, I know at the very beginning, everybody was washing their hands 50 million times a day. It was like, you go outside, you go get your mail, you wash your hands. You get an Amazon package, you're washing your hands. You go to the car, you're washing your hands. And what I was finding is like the over-the-counter soaps that I was using was really drying out my skin. And so I was like, what's in this? Like, what is in this that's drying out skin? So when at the same time, I'm kind of like exploring soap making. So that's really what like forced me to go into the natural skincare and using natural products, just looking at, and then also like, as I was exploring this, you started hearing about like palm oil. Palm oil is a really popular additive that's in these soaps, but I started looking like there's a problem with palm trees, and they're not sustainable, and the rainforests are like burning down, and a lot of the rainforests have palm trees in it. So I started exploring different options as to like where I get my palm oil from, and found like a vendor that has sustainable palm oil. A lot of soaps have animal products in them, like goat milk or honey, which comes from bees and all that. And I decided early on, I did not want to utilize any animal products. I wanted it to be vegan. I wanted my products to be sustainable. So that required a lot of research from a bunch of different angles, because if you ever look at the back of a soap package, like any over the counter, you may not know what's in it, but if you really look at the ingredients, you'll start seeing like, there's some animal products in here. They're using palm oil, and actually the ozone layer is depleting right now because of of the rainforest burning down, and that has palm oil in it. And there's just so many different ingredients that go into soap that I just became really intentional about, like using sustainable ingredients and using vegan ingredients too. Oh, there goes Shelia. She
Hi,
said, "Save the rain."
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Now, like as you're talking, I'm gonna have to look at the back of my soap because I just go by the brand. I'm like, okay, Dove doesn't dry out my skin, or Neutrogena
Right.
is okay, but I've never really sat and looked at the ingredients. And if I did, I'd probably be. First of all, I probably wouldn't understand what they mean, and then second of all,
Totally.
I'd have to
That's
Google
another big
everything.
thing, is like in anything, in food, in soap, in your beauty products. As I started going down this journey, I was reading like a lot of blogs. I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and like I said, I ordered a lot of books. And a lot of what some of these like pros were saying is, if you don't know what these ingredients are in the food that you're consuming or in the products that you're putting on your body, like skin is your biggest organ. So if you're putting something on your skin that could cause it any harm, then that's a problem. So um, yeah, I think it's just super important to put something on your skin that you know what it's doing. So I that's what I started doing. I was like, I don't understand what sodium hydroxide, peroxide, peroxide is. So started doing
You're like,
the
is that
research.
coconut oil? What is
Yeah,
that?
I'm like, what is that? What is all this stuff? So I started looking everything up to see exactly what it was I was putting on my skin.
Almost like when we started going natural with our natural hair, that's when I started paying
Yeah.
attention to ingredients. And I'm like, I've never paid attention to the back of ingredients until I went natural and started, noticing stuff had petroleum and mineral oil and different things that I just didn't want to put in my
Right.
hair. So that makes sense that you wouldn't, if you don't want to put it in your hair, which would soak into your scalp, which is your skin, why take soap and put that on your body? So
Exactly.
that's a lot of Hampton University degree research going to use, okay? So you found a hobby that was soothing, you liked it, you then bought the equipment that you needed, which I guess is like the cutting of the soap. And how did you come up with like the concept of the look? Because I put something on Instagram and I'm like, every time I see your soaps, I want to like, I hope there's cake involved in it because they look so edible. So
Well,
how did you even come up with the look and the colors? Like you became your own like company in your house.
As a kid, I always loved baking. So it's funny that you say they look edible, because it kind of gives you like that baking fix without being tempted to eat something. So I'm like trying to keep my weight down and stuff, so I could make
Mm-hmm.
some soap and still get that fix. But as far as like the look of it, I usually have the look in my head before I determine like what I'm going to put in the soap. So kind of,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm like, oh, I want a floral soap with like some botanicals in it, I think about what I want it to look like. Do I want it to have mica, which is like a natural colorant in it, or do I want it to just like completely rustic and raw? So I usually say, this is what I want it to look like. And then I go backwards and say, okay, these are the oils I want in it. These are the additives I want in it. I want this type of clay. I want these types of botanicals. I want it to look like whatever. So the look is kind of inspired by nature. I'll say I like the more natural looking soaps. There's a lot of people who are really talented who like make soaps that look like unicorns or dogs or goats or whatever for that matter. But I like the more natural looking soaps that kind of remind me of nature.
There's a comment that says, I just saw your soaps and they look like tasty treats. And
Do not eat them. Do not
don't
eat
even,
them.
they're not bad for you though, because they're made with natural products. If you eat it, you won't get too sick, but don't eat them. And
They just
so
won't taste good.
they won't, but they won't get you sick. So that's a good thing. And so your soaps now, like you went from making them and it was like a hobby, but now you're selling them and you're gaining a lot of traction because people are coming to your site. What
Yeah.
happened that you went from like, I'm going to do this as a hobby that's soothing to now being like, I'm going to sell this on Etsy and I'm doing this for bridal parties and different events. What happened with that?
Yeah, I would like post them on my Instagram story as I was making them, and people would always say like, I want some, I want some. So that kind of inspired me to start selling them, because the products that go in them aren't cheap, especially if you're purchasing like the oils in bulk. Especially, I like to use like coconut oils and um, olive oils and stuff like that. So when you're ordering them in bulk, it can get a little pricey. So I was like, I need to just start selling these. And honestly, when I first started selling them, it wasn't to really make any money. You'll notice that my prices are like pretty cheap in comparison to like Whole Foods or other places that sell these types of soaps. But it was more so just to like pay for the ingredients. So I wasn't coming out of pocket. But as I sold them, like people kept asking, and then they would tell a friend, and then they would tell a friend, and then you get a bridal party and a birthday party out of it. And it's just like every single day I kind of trip out. I was just telling my husband Marcus this morning, like in the past couple of days, how many orders I've received just for Mother's Day. It's just like, wow, it's just crazy to me that my little hobby has actually turned into a thing, and people are actually enjoying it, because I didn't know if people would like it or if they would even care for that matter. But I think because of the way they look, it's just kind of like interesting to people. They're just like, I want to try it out. And it helps that they're made out of natural ingredients too.
And not only do they look nice, but you have like different scents and shapes and flavor. I don't want to say flavors because we don't want people to eat it, but different like smells to it. So let's talk about that, because you have like coffee, you have lavender, you have all these different scents and smells. So what goes into you creating these scents? Because when I think of soap, I think of taking a bath, and I do my best thinking in the bathroom. Like all of
Me
my ideas
too.
come to me in the bathroom.
I take baths every single night. And since I was a little kid, I always took a bath, and it was just always extremely relaxing to me. So sometimes I would have a candle, but what was always really important to me was like the soap. So growing up, like I see Kelly in here, Bath and Body Works was like my spot. I would literally stock up on so much Bath and Body Works in their semi-annual sale, because that was just so important to me to have like these products that were relaxing, and a lot of them are relaxing because of the fragrances. So I started choosing fragrances based off of how they make you feel. Like my favorite fragrance is lavender. A, kind of reminds you of purple, but B, lavender is like the most popular essential oil, and it's known for being very relaxing and known for aromatherapy. So like I have a lavender and coconut milk bar that's really, really popular. And that was kind of influenced by me loving lavender, that being my favorite fragrance, and me loving coconut milk too. Coconut milk is like really soothing to the skin. So it's kind of like thinking along those lines, like, oh, I want a lavender bar, but what should I put in it at this point? So yeah, lavender and coconut milk is one of my personal favorite, and it seems to be selling well on my website. I have another one. It's rose clay and sea salt, and rose clay like pulls all the impurities from your skin. It's also very soothing, and then the sea salt and Himalayan salt also serve as like an exfoliant to your skin. So it's providing nourishment for your skin, as well as like getting all the dead skin cells off, and so on and so forth. I have a black beauty bar made with activated charcoal, which is like a fan favorite. And activated charcoal cleanses the skin, unplugs your core. So I'll show you a few of them. I actually have a few of them here that I'm going to pack up. This is the, can you see? Unfortunately, these are all wrapped up. I wish they weren't, so you could see what the bar really looks like, but you could go on to either my website or to my Instagram. But this is the lavender coconut bar. You'll see it's like purple, and it's like made with coconut milk. Georgia Peach, this is a fan favorite. And this is actually one of my favorites. This one is all about the fragrance. It smells so delicious. It will smell up your whole bathroom. It's really relaxing. It just smells delicious. It actually smells like you want to eat it. And then this is a really popular one. This one is exfoliating oatmeal. Oatmeal is like a natural exfoliant. So
Yeah,
again,
good.
it gets all the dead skin cells off your skin. And it's just like, it's an antioxidant as well. So if you really like, depending on your skin, your skin type. There's a type of bar for any and everybody. And it's just, a lot of people have problems with their skin with breakouts and all types of stuff. And you'll notice a lot of that comes from like some of these chemicals that are put in some of these over-the-counter soaps that we're purchasing. So yeah, I have something for everybody. If you want to talk to me and say like, hey, I'm experiencing this, I'm not an expert, but I have done my research. Okay.
Because here's what I was gonna say. Like, you and I were journalism majors, so what you're talking about now is like straight chemistry, but it's something that can be figured out. So when you talk about like lavender and vanilla, like, how do you know that this stuff is gonna go together? Because you may feel like it's gonna be fine. So are you kind of mixing and then testing it on your skin to see, or are you kind of mixing and then saying this smells okay, so it should be fine? Because I think like coconut milk sounds great, and I know oatmeal sounds great, but I wouldn't even know what to put together.
There's been a lot of failures in this process. So there are some things that I have mixed thinking it was going to be great, and I've messed up a lot of batches of soap. There's like, you could actually mess up like the milks you use. If you're working at too high of a temperature, you could scorch the milk, so then you've ruined your batch. You could mix 2 essential oils or 2 fragrances that you think go together, and then you smell it and you're like, nobody's putting this on their body. There's a number of different things. Like, a lot of fragrances don't work in soap. So sometimes there's a fragrance that I may think is going to work, and it can make the whole batch go bad. So it's really a testing process. I kind of learned the hard way because I have the main mold I use is like 2 pounds. I was testing a lot of soap in the 2-pound mold, which is like wasting a lot of oil, a lot of fragrances, and it can get kind of pricey. So now I have like a little testing mold to get all my errors out, but I usually test them first, and then if I like them, then I'll make the larger batches.
Okay. And can people kind of custom order if they have like a scent or a request, or even like a color? Because I know that your soaps come in different colors. Can you customize these for people depending on the occasion?
Absolutely, yeah. So I can customize them. There's mica. Mica is like a natural colorant. So normally when you see the soaps that are like bright pink or orange or green or something, that usually has a mica powder in it. However, there are like natural colorants, like orange pills. If you want something all natural, I could kind of make it orange with like a natural orange pill. However, it's not going to be as bright as like the mica powder, or like with the pink rose clay, you could get kind of a pink color, but it's not going to be a bright pink. So there's always options. You have like your natural colorants that you really just get from like some dried fruit or something, and then you have your natural colorants from mica. So yeah, everything is customizable. Actually, my friend Doc, who's in here, he just customized some soaps for a show that he does, and we named them Confessions. So his 2 fragrances are vanilla oatmeal and orangesicle, because that's one of his favorite fragrances. So that was all on him. Good. I just made it. It was all his idea.
That actually sounds like it goes good together. And where can people find the soaps? I know that we have the Instagram handle up now, but if anybody wanted to order, I know you're on Etsy and you do have a website, is that right?
Yeah, the website is just beassoap.com. It's BEASSOAP.com. There are 2 S's. And then the Instagram is at Bea Soap Company. So you could get to the website through the Instagram as well. And, I'm always available for questions, or if you have questions about fragrances or essential oils, which there is a difference between fragrances and essential oils, like I'm always willing to answer any questions anybody has.
So definitely look Rhea up on Instagram, visit her website, and ask her anything you want. You have a specific color or scent or something, she is here to answer your questions. Now, soap is just like one aspect of your life, because you recently started a new venture, or re-enter, I should say, because you were into radio and podcasting all the way from our Hampton University days, but you recently got back into full-time podcasting every week. So can you tell us a little bit about your show, I Survived 2020, that you host?
Yeah, I Survived 2020 was actually the brainchild of my husband, Marcus. And he, throughout 2020, just seeing everything that was going on and all the adversity that people were facing, the reoccurring theme that we saw is like people were taking all this adversity that they were facing with death, sickness, job loss, so on and so forth, and turning it into opportunity. So you'll see that from 2020, there's like a lot of small businesses that popped up. People started following their passions. They just took what they were dealing with during that time and turned it into something great. So that's the inspiration behind I Survived 2020, his clothing line, and the podcast. So on the actual podcast, we like to highlight stories of people who have faced adversity and turned it into some opportunity. So we've been doing that for the past couple of months now, and it's just been such a great journey because I get to work with Marcus every single day on it, and B, it's kind of like I'm getting my feet wet back into a field that originally held my heart, and that's also one of my passions. And it's just been fun, like meeting new people. We really like to highlight people we know personally, who have just, taken bad situations and turned them into something good.
And your podcast is every Tuesday, right? What time is it?
It's Tuesday at 10 a.m. and it's on all podcast platforms, and you could also watch it on YouTube. So all you need to do is search I Survived 2020, and it's spelled TWENTY, TWENTY. You have to spell it out.
And it's on Instagram. You can look it up on YouTube. You've had some really awesome guests, and their stories have been really great because I try to tune in and support you all whenever I can.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's been really great. And so you have the soap company, you're doing podcasting, which you've been doing. You've been doing radio since Hampton. We both were doing sports and entertainment stuff like when we were in college. And so aside from that, you have your full-time, your main hustle, which is the VP of ticketing for Golden Voice. And you are the first Black VP to have that position. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's correct. So Golden Voice is a concert promoter. Like Blayne said, we do Coachella, but we also own and operate a number of venues in Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego. So obviously, throughout the past 14 months, our industry has completely been shut down just because we haven't been able to have concerts. But now, with the announcement from the government, the governor of California, that the state's going to be opening up on June 15th, it's literally like our industry just turn back on. So it's getting really busy as far as live events are concerned. Like you could see, especially locally here at our NBA games, like fans are starting to go back to Lakers and Clippers games. And, soon there's going to be fans back at concerts. So looking forward to that, but it has been extremely busy lately.
Yeah, I would love to go to a concert. I'm still.
I know. I'm like, I honestly, I tell my coworkers, the first concert I go to, I don't care the genre. Like it could be anybody could be for that matter. It does not matter. I was like, I'm gonna sit there and cry. I swear, because it's like something that has been such a big part of my life for so long at this point. So to go for 14 months and not have a concert or a festival, I'm just like, what is going on? So yeah, excited that industry is able to come back now.
No, that is exciting. I'm laughing because Doc put his Rhea Jamaican. She got more jobs than Steve Harvey. You gotta hustle. You gotta hustle out here. It's about multiple streams of income. Okay.
Both of my parents always had 10 jobs, so it's just in my blood.
It is multiple streams of income coming in, and I know he's just kidding. So, and so aside from this, it's so crazy because life happens so quickly and so fast. And so I posted recently on Instagram pictures of us from Hampton and throughout the years, and that was pre-husband, pre-kids, all of that. And then you fast forward now, we're moms, which is crazy. We were talking about sneakers the other day for our kids. And it's just how do you even, that's what we were kind of saying, how do we even balance this stuff, right? Because we have these full-time jobs, these side hustles, and then we have these small kids. My daughter's 3 and Story's gonna be 3. Right. So how do you even maintain the schedule to do everything that we just mentioned? All of the 25 jobs?
There's a lot of long nights, but honestly, like I have a great partner. Marcus is so hands-on. But for both of us, it's been a lot. This whole pandemic has been a lot just with having our 2-year-old at home and obviously working from home throughout this whole time. My 10 jobs, he doesn't understand, oh, mommy's in a meeting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to be completely transparent, it has not been easy. It's been a
Mm-hmm.
struggle. I cannot wait till the world opens back up so I could go to somebody's island and have a mojito and chill. Um,
Right.
but it's really, it's one of those things when before you take on like a new challenge or something, you're always like, how am I going to do this? Like, I want to do this, but how am I going to do this? And people always say, well, you just figure it out. My mom has always told me that, well, you just figure it out. And I'm just like, sometimes you psych yourself up where you're just like, I can't do this. This is too much. But honestly, when you start doing something, you do figure it out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if you have to wake up a little bit earlier or go to sleep a little bit later or, sacrifice here for here, you figure it out. So although it has been a challenge, I couldn't be happier doing everything that I want to do because at one point nobody could have told me that I could do everything I want to do. When I
Mm-hmm.
first entered the live music business, I kind of had to put radio to the side, just because they were both kind of time consuming. But now I'm like able to do both. And you couldn't have told me that 5 years ago. And now I have way much more going on with a 2-year-old running around and now running a soap business. So you can do it. You just have to put your mind to it and, focus in on what's important to you.
I think what you said is important. It's like time management. That's something that I've learned. I never feel like I have enough time. But I started doing what you said. Like I wake up super early, sometimes 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I just take like an hour or two to myself, maybe even to answer personal emails or just like make some tea and sit
Yeah,
there. Until because I know the day is gonna come at me. And so like by 8 o'clock, I'm like,
totally.
the day's gonna come at me. So this like small break that I have is so meaningful to plan the rest of the day and plan everything. So I think that's like
Yeah.
important.
It's important and self-care, like what you said,
Hmm.
just taking that 1 hour, 2 hours in the morning to have a cup of tea and also creating boundaries. Like I
Hmm.
think one of the biggest things for me in this past year has been, or even since having my son, has been creating boundaries because people will keep pushing you.
Hmm.
And sometimes you have to be like, I can't be pushed any further. So I've been really working on and focusing in on self-care and boundaries because at the end of the day, like I'm not going to be good for anybody else unless I'm being good to myself. So um, yeah, it's just time management, boundaries, and figuring it out.
And we do figure it out. That's the thing. And it's so crazy because like in college, Rhea and I were like super involved in so many different avenues. Like we had a social life. We were roommates at one point after we lived off campus. Me, Rhea, and our friend Michelle. I don't know if Michelle is on here. We had an apartment and we were just involved in like so much stuff. And then we would also hang with each other and do all these things. And I remember when I got out of college, I wanted to travel and do all kind of stuff. And I would always like be like, I don't know if I should. And my mom would always say, you should do it because there's going to be a day that comes that you're going to have a family, stuff is going to happen and you won't be able to do it. And so I would just do it, right? Because I'm like, all right, fine. And I'm so glad that she said that because like now all the things I would love to run and do, I can't because there's so many things to think of. I'm like, so I have my kid, I have this, I have whatever. How is this going to happen? How am I going to balance this all out? So what you're
Yeah,
saying is right.
you're so right. It's like take advantage of that time when you have it because once you have a kid hanging on your back, you're like, oh, I can't just get up and go to the store when I want to anymore.
And I run any opportunity I get. Like if someone needs something from the store, I'm like, I'll
You're
go.
like,
It's
oh
okay. She can stay here. I'm like, it's all good. Like go right ahead. And I try to like make that run to the store. So I like totally understand even the East Coast, West Coast stuff, what we haven't had because like I had my kid, then you had your kid, and then COVID hit. And so we've been doing these like cross country trips to see each other. And now I have to factor in the next time I come out there, I'm like, all right, so I have to bring Ava, and if you come out here, you have to bring Story, and we
Right.
have to like figure this out.
Seriously, yeah, it's a game changer.
It is. It is. But it's all good. It's all good. There have been like so many awesome comments. I know that some of them have been coming across the screen. And I just want to remind everybody that you're free to ask any questions that you want to ask. But I just want to say, like, where do you see yourself with this company, with the podcast back in effect, with your job? I know it's hard to project where we'd be in 5 years because nobody would have thought that we'd be in COVID and all this stuff now. So if you kind of had to project in the next like 1 to 5 years, where you see your soap company going? Do you see this as like a household brand? You mentioned Bath and Body Works. Do you see this as something that's like sold in retail stores, or do you want to kind of just keep it exclusive and people have to come to you because you're the plug for the whole thing?
No, actually, I would like to, get it in some retail stores. Maybe something, well, it would start off more locally and especially like in my neighborhood. I live Inglewood adjacent, South Central Los Angeles, and there's a lot of like small Black-owned businesses popping up just here. And so I think it's really important to provide this type of product to like folks in my neighborhood. So as far as the skin, I don't plan on opening up like a storefront at any point. I'm really enjoying the online sales. It's super easy, no overhead. It's like literally just me and my soap shop, and I ship everything out myself. So I would like to kind of expand and get it in some retail stores. As far as the podcast is so much fun. I think it has no limits. Marcus is great. He has a lot of great relationships. We have so many good guests like scheduled to come on the show. So right now with that, I could see it potentially going somewhere, but we're just having fun with it at this point and kind of letting it, go out on its own and do what it's going to do. But it's just for me right now. I think it's helping me with even my public speaking at work. So it's kind of interesting how that's working because I'm taking on more responsibilities at work and having to have higher level conversations and so on and so forth. And I'm not normally the type to like stand in a room and be like, hey, let me say something, but now I'm kind of being forced into that role at work. So being on the podcast is kind of helping me with like my public speaking skills and being more comfortable, like asking the right questions and just interacting with people in a public setting. So I could see that. I could see the podcast going anywhere. Work is just going great. My goal for work as far as Golden Voice right now is just to get back to my first concert.
Not to the office, because we had that conversation. I told you
Yeah.
that. I'm like, concerts are okay, but I'm like, you want me to come in the office? I don't know about that. Maybe once a month or once every other week or something. Thank you, Doc, for the comment. I just saw your comment. Thank you so much. And that's your mother-in-law leaving the comment. So again, before we kind of like wrap things up, I want you to again let people know where they can find your soap, where they can find your podcast just one more time. And I'm going to have all this information in another post within the next like day or two. But I want people to understand that they are free to connect with you, ask you questions.
Yeah.
You're the direct connect. So let us know again where we can find you.
Yeah, you can follow Bia's Soap Company. It's at Bia's Soap Company, BEAS. There we go, OAP, and then company. My personal Instagram is at Rhea Bea. I'm giving you guys a lot of information right now, okay? So it's at Rhea Bea, RHEABEA, and the podcast is at I Survived 2020, and you spell out 2020.
That is awesome. And do not be on her personal page asking questions. Keep that to the soap company page. Okay, everyone? Like let's keep it separate.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I always ask people if there's any like shout outs or thank yous or anything that they want to give. So and I know that you have to get back to all the other jobs that you have, so that's also why I'm kind of going to wrap things up with you. But if there's any thank yous and shout outs that you want to give, please go right ahead now.
Yeah, shout outs to my husband. I think he's in here. He's the bomb.
He's awesome.
He really holds it down, and especially like being at home, he's really, really, really been like a huge part in making this whole machine run in here, especially taking our son to the park 10 times a day to give me a little bit of break. You know, he's just been great throughout this whole thing. I couldn't ask for a better husband. I don't know if my mom is in here. She said she was going to tune in, but my mom has been a big supporter of Via Soap Company, as has my mother-in-law, Alfreda Scott. I don't know who else is in here. I think Doc is still in here. That's my brother from another mother who I'd probably talk to way too much. We talk 10 times a day. But when I was first starting out Via Soap Company, like, he was here in the garage with me, like encouraging me. He's also my radio brother who I grew up with in radio. And he's also a music industry exec. So we kind of align on multiple levels. Kelly's in here. April's in here. I think there's so many amazing people who have been so supportive. Shelia, I can't see who's in here. I saw Jadroid. But biggest shout out goes to you, Blayne, for having me on your show. I really appreciate this. This has been great. And I know Rodney, my other brother from another mother, is behind the scenes making this all work. And I love this platform. I've been watching your interviews as well. They're so insightful. You have some really great guests. And I love it. I think, like, I told you this after your very first interview. I was like, you are so good, like just such a natural interviewer, and it's so organic and so fun, and I'm like, this is perfect for you. I could see you like on CNN or somewhere else.
Let me tell you what's I want to thank you for that. What's so funny is my mom sometimes watches, and the last show I did, she put it on her Facebook page, and all these people commented like, oh my goodness, I can't believe Blayne is so great, this and that. And my mom is like, yeah, my Hampton dollars at work, because she got a degree in journalism. So she's like, my money has been put to use. So, this is your calling. Like, obviously we're in the School of Journalism together and stuff, but you have always, it's so funny, like even in the most natural settings, you always ask the best questions to everybody, even if we're just like out to dinner or after. Oh, so what's going on with this? And I'm like, Blayne is such a natural, so it's really good. I'm proud of you. I want to thank you so much, because we made a good team in college, because we would like see people and we were just like, what's up with you? What's this? Oh. And then we just wound up knowing everyone. So I want to give a really big shout out to you, because you are just doing it. And I know that, sometimes we make it look easy, and I know that it's not easy. But you do an amazing job as a wife, as a mother. You have an awesome support system. You have such a beautiful mind to create the soap company, to create all of the other stuff you have for Golden Voice, everything that came out of 2020. And you created like a side committee, or you've been named to the side committee with Golden Voice. So I just want to give a big shout out to you, because like Rhea is the friend that we may not talk on the phone all the time. We may not speak every day. We are on a group chat, but we may not speak and talk on the group chat. But she is that friend that, like, at the end of the day, she's my sister. And if something is up, like, I'm gonna be like, hey girl, what's up? Listen, this is what happened. Oh my gosh, like, and we just jump back into it. And I think that's what real friendship is about. And so I love you, and I appreciate you as my sister friend. You're so awesome, and I'm so always inspired by everything that you do. So big shout out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the time. To Marcus, to your family. Big shout out to everyone from Hampton University. I know Jeroid is on here. I know there's several Hampton University people. Madeline is on here. Yes, I saw her leave a comment. I don't know where Michelle is, but big shout out to our little quad D that we used to chill with, and all of our Bridgewater friends and family that we used to hang with. Big shout out to the West Coast crew, as you mentioned, Shelia, Kelly, who was on the show about 2 weeks ago. April is on here as well.
Hi,
Shaky.
Shaky.
Yeah, I don't know if Shaky's on here, but big shout out to Shaky. And as always, huge thank you to Rodney Hughes, who is also our Hampton brother. He is the founder and creator of Realishradio. He does all the production and the behind the scenes stuff. And Rodney just had a birthday last Monday, this Monday that just passed. So happy birthday, happy belated birthday. Yes, to Rodney. So thank you, everyone. Oh, Michelle is on here. She said she's right here.
Hi, Michelle.
Shout out to Michelle. That's part of our crew.
roommate.
That is part of our crew. That's part of our Hampton crew. And we just had like such a good time. And like I said, to anybody who watches this later, if you went to Hampton and you did not enjoy your experience, that is on you, because we came out of here with lifelong friends with amazing experiences, and we wouldn't know Michelle, we wouldn't know Natalie, we wouldn't know Jeroy, we wouldn't know any of these people had we not gone to Hampton University. So
Right.
So big shout out. And I'm just going to ask you, Rhea, we're going to go to a commercial. I'm just going to ask you to stay on for a couple minutes. We have a quick talk back with Rodney. Everybody else, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, I'm Kalia.
I'm Salita.
And we want to welcome you to our new podcast called Sisters Talking Ish on the Realishradio Network.
So download the app at realishradioapp.com. And you can also watch us on Facebook and YouTube and listen to the audio on all streaming platforms. Hope you guys check us out soon.